We're talking Game Awards and game announcements here on Two Souls. And that's quite a win, considering all the games that came up to this. Yeah. Yeah, you're happy with that one.
Look kind of goofy, look kind of quirky.
The kind of thing you probably have a good laugh with.
Yeah, you get a good group, you'll probably have a good time.
It is very scary. I think the Game Awards have come a long way. Hi, and welcome to Two Souls Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Giorgio and Marco, joined alongside with my brother and co-host, Marco Mara.
Hello.
And today we're going to be going over the Game Awards 2023. You excited about this?
Yes, there is a lot of awards.
There's a lot of announcements.
There's a lot of announcements, too. They apparently for 3 hours had only like 30 minutes allocated for awards.
Yes.
At an award show.
This is factual.
The other 2.5 hours was announcements.
There was... they were playing off a lot of people with that music, pretty early on.
Dude, they would like go up and be like, "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad," and then the music would start
cutting in.
They gave them 1 minute each. That's like way too.
Is that what it actually was?
It was 1 minute. Like, how are you supposed to thank your whole list?
How are you supposed to thank God? You'll never get to him. It's like Christopher Judge. He made it tough for everyone, didn't he? Yeah.
They learned from that. They also weren't letting like full teams up for like Game of the Year.
I did notice that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was because of all the security.
Yeah. Well, we did talk about this on the cast. We're gonna up security, and they did.
They did.
So Jeff Keighley's a man of his word, yeah.
No more kids ranting about Bill Clinton, Rabbi. It's Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's even Jewish. So instead of news today, we're gonna be doing the game announcements that were shown, the reveals, the world premieres, and then instead of a topic, we're going to talk about the awards that were handed out. So, we're going to just run through these.
We'll roll through the announcements.
There was a lot of announcements. There's a lot of them.
So many.
We're going to start off with the titular Pony Island 2. It was Clown Circus or something or another. I forgot the name of
the subtitle.
The subtitle to that, yeah. Oh, it was Panda Circus. That's what it was.
I think it looks pretty cool.
So this is from the makers of Inscription, which was that card game. Mm-hmm. It was like an indie game. It was pretty scary.
Like a horror card game.
Very outside of the box kind of gameplay. You start with a card game and then turns into other things. So this is in many senses a variety game as well. And it's got that voice actor Prosdy in it, full live action. Yeah. I thought it looked pretty cool.
It looked pretty cool. Guy's funny. Where's Pony Island 1? That's my question.
That came out a while ago.
Did it?
Yes.
There is a Pony Island 1?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we'll let it slide.
Yeah, we let it slide. It's another one we got.
The next one we have is Harmonium. Mm. It's a musical game. It's made to be very accessible to those with hearing problems. So if you're like deaf and stuff like that, the game is like it's literally like signing, like all the characters are using like sign language and stuff. I mean, it looked good. I like the idea of it in particular. I don't really understand what the game was, though. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I was a little confused by what the game was. But there's a lot of signing. It's supposed to be very accessible. I think that's great. I think it's a good idea, honestly.
Yeah, it looked unique. It was like a musical, which is cool. So, yeah, we'll talk about that as more info comes out. Next, we had a game called Windblown that got announced. So this is like a new game from the Dead Cells team. That's that roguelite. Great game.
Yes.
Fantastic game. This one looks to be co-op, and it's got more of like a cute, while also being brutal, sort of like art aesthetic and gameplay. So reminded me a lot of Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah. I was getting the same vibe.
We'll be getting early access in early 2024, along with some more information. So, yeah, I mean, it looked like a lot of fun. Looked cool.
Yeah, if it's from Dead Cells, I was literally like, I was making a joke initially because they had like a little animation.
Yeah.
That's what reminded me of Happy Tree Friends in particular, was the animation they had before. And I was literally telling him, like, man, it feels like there's this team's just trying to like copy Dead Cells with their animations and stuff, and then it's like from the Dead Cells team. I'm like, oh, okay, well that explains it.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I'm excited. It looks cool.
Nice.
They know how to make games feel good. So
this is true.
Next, we have Thrasher.
Thrasher.
This is the same artist and composer from Thumper, the rhythm game that You know, I think like everyone knows about it at this point.
You played a Scarab.
And it has fetuses. Thrasher, that is. It has fetuses.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool.
What do you think about that?
You know, I think it looks good. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
It's cool.
I know you're huge on rhythm games, so you're really excited for this.
I'm so stoked, dude.
Next, they announced Dave the Diver and Dredge doing a crossover. So Dredge is going to be in Dave the Diver, not the other way around. Dave's not going to be dredging. Dredge is going to be in.
And it's also not this like amalgamation of them two together. It's just Dredge and Dave the Diver.
Exactly. Looks cool.
Looks cool. Dave the Diver.
Some
we talked about
Lovecraftian. You know, fish.
Yeah.
You know, some sushi that's a little ethereal.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
I like Dredge a lot. I also like Dave the Diver quite a bit. I think I enjoyed Dredge more though.
Yeah.
But this crossover is cool. It makes sense too. Yeah, we'll see more about that, I guess. They kind of did show a nice bit though, so you get a clear picture. There's like a trailer for it. Next, we have World of Goo 2. It's been 15 years since the first World of Goo. That was a mobile game.
Remember World of Goo?
Remember World of Goo?
Remember all that goo?
You didn't play with the goo.
No. Oh man, our producer didn't get all gooed up.
On this one, you should.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years since the first one.
Apparently, people have been asking for this. Yeah.
People have been clamoring for it.
Yeah. There's been a lot of brouhaha surrounding the lack of a sequel over these last 15 years.
I honestly saw the trailer and I was like, I think I remember this game.
I remember you playing that as a kid. Walk in and you'd just be like tossing goo all over the place. I'm like, you like that? I'm like, yeah, dude, it's fun. You know, it's cool playing that.
I mean, it makes sense, dude. If it came out like during the time I think it did.
It's like going on your iPad Touch or something.
Yeah, I think I did play that because that was when
iPod Touch.
That was when like mobile games were actually like very unique.
They weren't cash grabs.
Yeah, like mobile games now, even like the good ones now, just don't hit that like. There's like a particular like neuron in my brain that like Solid Skier or like Cut the Road.
Dude, Solid Skier.
Like
remember Solid Skier?
No.
Dude, you don't remember this? Dude, we would like you, me, and then and one of our friends back in the day. We used to send like high scores to each other. I think I still have them on my
Is it
Facebook.
an iPhone game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the one that got the little guy skiing. You're like
Oh,
making the
yeah,
ski
yeah,
thing, and oh, dude, that thing was
Yeah,
nuts.
freaking Flappy Wings.
Flappy Wings was great.
Then there's
Yes.
Flappy Bird also.
I prefer Flappy Bird.
I feel like it died with Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird was the.
That was the last game that I could think of.
I think that's as far as you take that whole, that whole concept.
Yeah.
The rest were all just different kind of skins on it.
Yeah.
Do you remember Infinity Blade?
Oh yeah, dude.
Do you remember Infinity Blade?
Unreal Engine.
Hell yeah, brother.
So I found it recently, slight tangent, but we're blowing through these, so we'll get right back on to this.
Freaking Roll the Goozle when we get
Roll the
caught
Goose
up
when we
on
get
it.
caught up on out of all the ones. Brandon Sanderson,
He made Roll the Goo?
he wrote stories in the Infinity Blade universe.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Licensed.
I've heard of that. That's dope. That's nice.
Little for your author nerds out there,
Yeah.
it's an Infinity Blade. The Brandon Sanderson crossover.
But nonetheless, World of Goo 2.
Yeah, that's coming.
It's been 15 years.
Get good. Next we had Metaphor de Fanazio. I don't know if it says it like that, but that's how I read it. This is a new game from the creators of Persona 3, 4, and 5. Arguably the best ones.
Dude, this game looks really good.
This game, no joke, looks fantastic. And it's still really early on from what I understand. It looks like there's the gameplay is politically driven. It looks like there's going to be a lot of intrigue and a lot of moving around with different like factions and like stuff like that. Like, looks really cool.
It looks. So it seems like there's like almost like some future. I don't know if it's like steampunk or what. There's some like futuristic kind of stuff, but it kind of looks like it's like a whole epic.
Yeah.
Like story-wise, where it's going to be this whole fantasy kind of like epic that you're going to be playing through.
Yeah, gameplay looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Hearing that it's
Characters look great.
Hearing that it's made by the creators of 3, 4, and 5 for Persona, that is a huge vote of confidence.
Yeah, I
nice
trust it.
Nice to see something else coming out from that team, so very excited about that.
Next, we have Exodus.
All right.
And Exodus has Matthew McConaughey, apparently.
All right.
He came out and he was like, we're working on a game. And then they showed a trailer and he wasn't in the trailer. So I still want to see where Matthew McConaughey is in this game, to be quite frankly. But that aside, it looked really cool design-wise. Like the little spaceships and stuff. It's like a sci-fi game. Like the spaceships and the little spacesuits and all that stuff. Like all the designs look really cool. It had like a nice color palette from what they're showing. Like it has pretty varied color palette. They showed like a bunch of different planets and stuff like that, and all this like. It looked like really big set pieces going on in the background.
Yeah.
But they also like they had a great song too. I can't remember what song. They had like a Muse song playing.
Supermassive.
Yeah, Supermassive Black Hole.
Yeah.
It was great. It looked great. I still don't really know what the game is, to be honest.
What we know is that it has aliens called Celestials, and that it's like a time dilation, travel kind of.
Yeah,
story.
like the trailer was basically a dude gets split off from like his like partner in this like investigative endeavor or whatever. Then they reveal later that they were like a couple, and so it was like his like lover that like he ended up having to leave. Then he goes into like what looked like a Mass Effect like mass relay like to like shoot you across, right?
And going through that like
it advances time, and so he went through like 100 years or something like that, and like in like a split second. And then so basically like his lover's gone, she was like in the past. And yeah, now he's like in the future. But there's still no Matthew McConaughey. So
yeah, maybe he's further in the future.
Maybe
he's stuck somewhere. God of War Ragnarok DLC. Now, this is called Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of threw me out for a second because when they showed Kratos, I'm like, we're getting another one already?
Dude.
And I was a little perturbed for a second. But come to find out, it's Sony Santa Monica Studios. They're deciding to put out a free DLC for all y'alls. And it's a roguelite.
I think it's a smart move.
I think it's a smart move too.
Yeah. I think it's a smart move, and I had the same feeling you did initially, because I've talked to you about this like before. I want to see Sony and Santa Monica get some other IPs under their belt while they can right now.
They've been doing God of War for a long time.
They did like I think some random game like way back when they started, and then it's been God of War ever since.
Yeah, it's like a racing game.
Yeah, and then like God of War 4 or 2018, it felt like, wow, Kratos is coming back, right? But the only reason why I felt that way is because no one played Ascension. Because if you look at their release table, like we've been getting God of War like consistently like every 4 years since like God of War started.
Yeah.
And so, we know the whole story with 2018 where it was kind of like there was a level of it being like a kind of like a last ditch effort, because they're like, we have to do something big, it has to hit, we have to use this IP. They're not going to take a chance on like a new IP at that point, right? And so for me, I'm like, they've built themselves into a spot where I'm like, I'm hoping they work on something else just so they can at least bounce off of those, and like not run themselves into a corner again. So
yeah, well, we'll see what Corey Barlog's working on. He had that whole passion project he wanted to work on. And
yeah. Seeing this being a DLC was very, very comforting, because I'm like, maybe they are working on something else. There's also, I think, last detail for this, there's also Cyclopses.
Yeah, they're coming back.
And then they brought back like the old like God of War theme, like the music, like in the trailer, which is cool. It's cool to hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool stuff.
That's coming out today, actually, as of recording. It's out already.
If you're listening to this, it's out.
Yeah, just
check it out.
Download, check it out. Looks cool. Next, we have Big Walk. And this is made by the Goose Game dev, House. Is that the name of their studio?
Yeah, it's House.
Untitled Game Production is, I think, their studio.
Yeah. And
it's a co-op, play with your friends kind of game. It looked kind of like, honestly, it looked pretty unique.
Yeah.
And you're like, these little like, I don't even know what to call them. They're just like
little ducks.
Yeah, they look like these little ducks, but it's like they're almost like made out of like emojis or something. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, you like walk around this place, solve puzzles, do it with your friends. They look kind of goofy, look kind of quirky.
They look like the kind of thing you probably have a good laugh with.
Yeah, you get a good group, you'll probably have a good time. But yeah, they're working on that. So
Good stuff.
Jeff Keighley said it was fun.
Yeah. Next we had Kimuri. This was made by Unseen Studios. So from what I understand, this is a brand new studio. And it's made up of a lot of different art designers. So they showed a trailer, and it was incredibly art-driven, and it looked great.
This is the one where they like brought out that artist,
Yes.
and she was like, "This is my studio."
Yeah. She was very high energy.
Very high energy.
Yeah, and it looks really cool. I mean, it's like it's all these like unique kind of like, it looks like it's like a character-driven kind of thing, and we don't know enough about it, but I'm surmise it to say that I think it's probably going to be some sort of like co-op kind of deal where you get to pick like your agent or your hero,
like a hero based something.
Yeah, like a hero based something or another. That's what it looked like to me. But the art direction looked great.
Yeah, art.
Yeah,
The art was like really cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, so we'll see what that ends up becoming. But yeah, that was a cool one that they showed.
Yeah. Excited to see what else they show.
Yeah. So
next, this one got me pretty hyped once I found out who made it because it looked great to begin with. And then I found who made
great.
it. It's called No Rest for the Wicked, and it's by the makers of Ori. So like Ori and the Blind Forest, and then Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Yeah.
Those games are like awesome.
Yeah.
They're just like beautiful. They've got great music. They're super charming. A lot of fun too. I love those games. And so this is their next one, their next game. And they showed quite a bit, I feel, with this one. They showed a nice bit of gameplay. It looks like it's some sort of like kind of like isometric like hack and slash or something, adventure action adventure game.
Looks pretty grim.
It looks very grim. It looks really
stylized.
Yeah, it looks really dark. Honestly, I think for this one, like, I would just recommend people just look up the trailer for it and watch it, because it's kind of hard to describe, like, altogether. It's like, it's very unique looking, but it'll look great. It looks kind of medieval, maybe kind of like Flintlock kind of era looking vibe, but
a little piratey.
Yeah, it looked really cool though, and it's from a great studio, so pretty stoked on that. We're gonna hear more information for it this coming March.
All right,
so we'll fill you guys in once we get more info.
Absolutely. Next, we had a new AAA game from the director of GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. And from what I understand, they had a lot of other people from those teams that formed a new team called Lightspeed LA. And this is a game that they're working on. From what I understand, we don't have a working title or anything, but they did show a trailer, and it looked very intriguing. It's like a futuristic, like dystopian kind of game, and it definitely looks like it's going to be an open world sort of deal, heavily story and narrative focused and driven. And definitely check out the trailer. The trailer is very cinematic. We'll find out more. But it was cool to hear that there's like a new AAA dev.
Yeah,
and it's like, whoa, okay, so a new person's going to be making some nutty games. That's cool.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen that too much recently.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Blade Runner almost, with like the androids. There's like a lot of androids on the trailer and stuff like that. So
very very cool looking game.
Yeah. Next, there's not, I think, a lot to say about this one because they didn't show it.
Another short trailer.
But it's notable enough. Yeah. Arcane Studios is working on a Blade game. By Blade, I mean like Marvel's Blade. So they're working on that. They showed like a really short cinematic trailer. I think that could be a really good mix, honestly. Yeah. Like that kind of like character with the studio. I think that could be a good mix. But again, they didn't show really much, like anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll fill in as we get more info on that. That's really all there's to say with it. Yeah. They didn't show much.
The game takes place in Paris.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's a French guy. The guy who was brought up the game was like a French guy.
Oh, he did that like crazy kick?
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, this game takes place in my hometown.
Wow.
Well, that makes okay. Well, it takes place in Paris, and that's about all we can say.
His hometown. That's crazy. And lastly, we have OD from Kojima Studios. Now that is Hideo Kojima's studio. Kojima Studios. I don't know if you guys knew this. He made Metal Gear. Made Death Stranding.
tactical espionage. What was it called?
Metal Gear action.
Tactical
espionage action.
Yeah.
Has Jordan Peele working alongside with him in it?
Yeah.
You know, the Peelmeister. Great duo there. And from what I understand, it is very scary. That's what Jordan Peele was saying. That's what Hideo Kojima was saying.
There's
I think this is it. We were talking about this after
Yes.
and during, you know, because we're
jazzed.
We were flabbergasted. Our gastids were flabbered. Okay, and then we're like, this definitely looks like a spiritual successor to PT.
It had a lot of those kind of vibes, and especially when they showed the door and they had Hideo himself walk out of it. But yeah, the door reminded me of PT. It had the same kind of lighting, like where you start in that little basement room and you walk out. My guess with this is because from what I know with PT, they were really, really far in the whole like conceptualizing, storyboarding, and like getting the art style like, you know, pinpointed and stuff like that.
They're working with Junji Ito.
They're working with Junji Ito. He did like all the artwork for that game. It was like Junji Ito, Guillermo del Toro was working on that too.
What a team, dude.
And then Kojima. And a lot of that stuff, like I'm assuming they were just like, well, shit, we can't do anything with this. And so my guess with this, and your guess too, because we talked about this, is that they're probably working on this to like use some of that, because it seems very like horror focused with like everyone who's working on it.
I mean, people still talk about PT. It's one of the scariest things that I've ever played.
And me too. Like I can't think of anything that's like been more like to the core like horrifying than PT.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really exciting to hear. There's actually like leaked gameplay from this that you can find. I don't know if you can still find it.
Me?
No, like generally speaking, you
Okay.
can look up. There's some leaked gameplay for this. People thought this was before Death Stranding 2 was announced too. People were thinking that might be the Death Stranding sequel, and it was under this like codename OD. And then Death Stranding got announced, and like there were certain actors that were in that demo that like weren't in the trailer for Death Stranding, and people were like, "What's?" Now he announces this, and it makes sense. He's working on 2 games. But yeah, you can find some like gameplay of it, and it's very different. Just from like, obviously, you're just looking at gameplay. Like it doesn't really do it justice, but it looked very different with the way you control. Like there is something with like just like sound, like you're speaking into your controller or something to move your character and stuff like that, and it looked weird. It looked very unique, and so that's exciting. You know, Kojima seems to be like really pushing it again with this one in particular, because I think, and I've talked to you about, I think Death Stranding 2 is going to be like just his Metal Gear now. Like I feel like he did Death Stranding 1 to like build intrigue and build it up, and then do this like really unique thing with like the whole, you know, because he read that book about like the rope or whatever, and like societies and stuff like that. And then like now I think it's just going to be like Metal Gear. Because the whole thing with the first game is like you can't kill, but like now you can. And so they can do like Metal Gear stuff. So that's my guess. I could go off for hours, but I think we should move on.
Yeah.
I love Kojima.
Yeah, he does. He's a fan. I am too. So, that's the majority of the announcements. There are some other ones that are in there, but it's purely just for getting through the cast and not being too lengthy. But these are the ones that we felt were really notable.
Yeah, I think the only other one I'd mention is like GTA 6, but go watch the trailer. That's about it.
You already know about this.
Yeah, you probably already know about that. So
Yeah, it's
breaking records, that trailer.
Yeah, it's crazy. So now we're going to move on to the awards themselves. And I didn't include, kind of in the same vein as the announcements, I didn't include every single one of them here. You know, you're going to notice a very distinct lack of esports content and racers and that sort of thing. But we got the main ones in here, so we're going to run through these. These are the winners. So for Best Action Game, Armored Core 6 won, which was great. You know, that was I want to say that was the only one that it was up and nominated for. And it was, I think that this is a worthy win for Armored Core.
Yeah, especially with all the other ones that were there. I can't remember all of the nominees, but just in terms of just mechanics for combat and like action and stuff like that was easily the most like impressive game, I think.
Yeah.
You know, So there's like a lot of moving parts, but it's very well made.
I was actually playing some more of it yesterday. I went back to it, and the game feels so good. It feels great. So
It's fantastic to just go back.
It's
to.
one of those I think I want to play for a while, and it's funny too because I got the hankering to play Bloodborne, and I actually booted up my PS5, and I'm like, all right, let me play some Bloodborne, and I saw Armored Core 6 sitting there, and I'm like,
You're like I should play Armored Core.
play Armored Core 6 actually. I'm gonna play some more of that.
Yeah, that game's awesome.
For best art direction, Alan Wake 2 won. And that's quite a win, considering all the games that came up to
Happy
this.
with that one.
Yeah, I know you're happy with that one. I was happy whenever Alan Wake 2 won something. I that is a game, and I'll go so far as to say like a body of work and of art that as I've gone further away from it, I appreciate it and love it more. So as I've sat with it, as I've thought about it, the game itself, it's not perfect, but we're not talking about perfection. We're talking about what did it set out to do and how well did it do that. And yeah, there's some like some of the, I think the combat can be a little lackluster, some of it, wish there was a little more enemy variety, but that's not what you went to the game for.
No,
Like, you go to the game for the story, for the way it unravels, the way things are revealed, and absolutely for the art direction. I mean, there's so many moments in the game, and like just overall as a whole, just like I was wowed by the art direction.
Yeah.
Even in like areas that were just like, oh, this is just like that one main,
rather mundane.
yeah, I forget what that main street was called, but that one main street where like the cabins on it, and then there's like the little coffee shop, and it connects around to like everything's very well designed.
Yeah.
So
It feels like real locations.
yeah, so huge shout out to Alan Wake 2. Congratulations on that win. For best sound design, Hi-Fi Rush won. How do you feel about this?
I can't speak to it because I didn't play like that much of it, but the little bit I played, like it makes sense. I think the thing I can say with it is that really like it makes sense this game wins because it's like it's so sound focused, even just in concept. Like it's like a rhythm game. You're like a rock star, like in this like very comic-y. It's almost like Beautiful Joe kind of like art aesthetic. It reminded me of.
It does actually.
Yeah, and
like heavy cell shaded kind of.
Yeah, and it's like there's like mechanized aspects. Like your character like has like a mechanized arm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's all like music focused. Like you're like trying to be like a rock star or something. So like it makes sense that game wins, and they do a really good job with that. The little bit I played, personally, and this is more just my own preference. Like, I felt like Alan Wake and not Death Stranding, Dead Space were like
Yes.
astounding with like the environments that they create. Like we talked about this, I think, on the nomination like pod.
Yeah,
like when you're in the Ishimura, and it's like no new news. Like they did this in the first game. It's just like higher res now. Like it's like higher quality of like all the sound and stuff like that. But it's like, dude, some of the sounds you hear are just like so beautifully like industrial and like horrifying and haunting, and like the way they echo through the entire ship is like, it's just awesome. Like it really does create like an environment, and it really adds to all of like the environment that you're visually seeing. Yeah, and I felt the same way with Alan Wake in different regards, but like it just did such a great job at like creating that soundstage.
Well, Dead Space, it was like, especially when you're going through the Ishimura, there's areas where you weren't seeing it, but you felt like you understood the innards of the way this whole thing worked even more, and it's purely because of the sound design.
Yeah.
That being said, it wasn't a game that was designed around the sound, like Hi-Fi Rush was, so it makes sense.
It makes sense why Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And congratulations to the team. Too,
absolutely. And also congratulations to Shinji, for putting out something like this. It's a pretty big contrast to, to all the stuff he's worked on before, that being Resident Evil and Evil Within and all the evils,
I feel like Evil Within 1's kind of slept on.
Oh, it's incredible.
That's a separate conversation, but
incredibly slept on.
Little tidbit.
Great sound in that one too.
Yeah,
great sound
it's
in
great.
that one too. Best score music, and this warms my heart because they largely slapped this game in the face. Whoever was behind closed doors. Best score music win was given to Final Fantasy 16, and I think that was the least they could have done. Quite frankly. The music's beautiful in that game. We've talked about it before. I play the music on occasion. just while I'm doing work, working on some drawings, whatever it is, cleaning up around the house maybe. Who knows? It is so well composed, and there's so much emotion in the game and in the music. Final Fantasy's always been known for its music, and 16 is no stranger to that.
It's right up there.
It's amazing, and yeah, it's as much as I'm happy that it won that, I would be remiss if I didn't say I was very disappointed that it wasn't. And like we talked about in the noms, still disappointed that it wasn't up for nominations for other things too.
Yeah.
But that being said, at the end of the day, it's Game Awards. It's cool. It's great. But this is Two Souls.
Yeah.
And we're saying you guys gotta play that game. It's a beautiful game.
You gotta play it. Congratulations to Square Enix.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Best indie game. Went to Sea of Stars.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, there was a Cocoon was up for some stuff too. They're up for this one as well. That pizza, I forgot what it was called. I think it's called Pizza Rush, correct? That game
Pizza
was
Tower.
Pizza Tower. I knew there's a tower in there somewhere. Rushing the Pizza Tower. That's what I'm getting, because you're rushing around in the tower of pizza.
That game's got an interesting art style.
It looks like early 90s, like Saturday morning cartoons.
It looks like the little GBA game you would get for one of those Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes.
Where it's like, yeah, that's SpongeBob, and you look, it's just like kind of fucked up.
Like one eye's bigger than the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sea of Stars, congratulations to them. Shout out to Bryce Coe. Love your art in that game. So yeah, so I gotta go back to that one. Best support. This is like support for the game after it came out. And now we're gonna start seeing the trend. Okay, and we called this. We predicted this across the board.
And they earned it, dude.
And they earned it in spades.
But it still felt like this weird plague, dude.
It was
for someone, but it's like, damn it, they did such a good job.
It always kind of feels like that when this happens, but it's a good thing.
I remember, like, I think it was Red Dead Redemption 2, the year, like, I think it was 2018, wasn't it?
Yeah, that won, like, everything.
It won everything, dude. It was like God of War Ragnarok last year, too.
Yeah, that one won a lot, too.
So
best support for the game went to Baldur's Gate 3, and it was fully earned. And that's saying a lot considering the support that a lot of devs gave to other games.
Yeah, this was up there with Cyberpunk.
That I want to say it was like a day or two before Game Awards. They had released like a patch that added all this stuff to like the prologue, and they added like some 100,000 lines of dialogue and all this crazy stuff. It was they've been just supporting that game left and right. So, huge shout out to Larian Studios. Congratulations to everyone there.
Yeah, dude, it was up there with Cyberpunk. It was up there with No Man's Sky. And then I believe Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, those last two in particular. Those games have had a lot of support. So
that's crazy, man.
Great stuff.
Yeah, good for them.
Best fighting game. We didn't predict this.
We did.
You heard it here first, folks. Hashtag Two Souls were right. Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
They like, with a franchise that's been around for so long, dude, they really did bring it. Like, it's because it's that whole drive mechanic, dude. Like, it really works very well, like, competitively. It's really, like, it's really just tight. I mean, like, it's not like BS or anything. It's not
a lot of strategy to the drive gauge.
Yeah. Good for them, also.
Yeah. Congratulations, Capcom. Another strong year for them, eh?
Dude, they're on a roll, dude.
Most anticipated.
I think I called this one.
And you did call this one.
I called two, but this was one of them.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yes.
I think we can all three agree.
I can't wait for that, dude.
The Two Souls Productions team is very excited for this.
I can't wait for that.
Very excited for this.
They had like I don't know if it was for this one or if it was like for a trailer for the game, but they had like this like opera singer come up and like do this whole song. It was great, dude.
It was for 7.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I know it was for 7. I can't remember if it was for this or
it was for the
trailer.
It was for Rebirth.
It's the official Rebirth song.
Yeah.
I'm reborn. No, I don't know.
Best ongoing game. Now this went to Cyberpunk 2077, and I was up this morning. I was thinking about this cast today,
Listen,
You know, and I was, I'm just gonna be forthright with our listeners. I was showering, I was just shower thinking,
I think I said this on
and
the
and,
noms,
and you know what
too.
went through my head? I'm like, that game's not ongoing. It's done.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty
It's
sure.
done.
I'm pretty sure I said that on the noms too. Because for
You
me,
did.
I'm like, I get it. I get where they're. I get where they're trying to toss a bone. Okay, where they can.
Idris wasn't even there. Idris was all like, no, I'm not going to be there.
I've seen a lot of people mention that too.
Yeah.
It's not an ongoing game. The game's done. It was updated. It was fixed. It was stitched together from what crumbles there were of what they released. But
Yeah.
it's not ongoing. I don't think it should be up here like at all.
It was,
for me. I'm like,
what it should have been.
yeah. For me, I'm like,
Yes.
put it. Like, I would have liked to see a No Man's Sky up here. No Man's Sky, like the stuff they've been adding over the years, and they even had a trailer where they kind of showed all of that, like leading into like the new game that they announced, which was actually that was another thing. Look up the trailer. It was like what Light No Fire was the name of it.
Yeah, there was no light and fire in it. I don't know what order it was in.
Yeah, that was one game that we actually did kind of miss from the announcements because that is a big one.
Yes.
It's another game from the No Man's Sky team. Go look at the trailer. It looks like more fantasy based.
Hello Games.
Yeah, but needless to say, like I would have liked to see that up here because for me, I'm like
Sean
that
Murray.
game. Yeah, I'm like that game. Like they've been that's ongoing still. He even said he's like I'll support this game for another 10 years. Like I don't care. Like I love working on it. You know, they've got a lot of passion behind it, and they've been adding a lot of really big and cool stuff to that game. You know,
The amount of updates they've added to that game is
Cyberpunk.
it's astounding.
Yeah, Cyberpunk on the other hand, that's done.
Yeah, they've moved on.
They're working on Cyberpunk 2 now.
It's not an ongoing game.
No.
It's an on-went.
And
game.
and this leads to like a quick point. Like I swear, if they announce Cyberpunk 2 and they're like, oh, it's in a new city, I'm gonna be kind of annoyed.
I'd like to see them expand on.
I'm like, just
Night
stay in Night City and like try to course correct, okay? Because I would imagine when Cyberpunk 2 comes out is around the time when this game probably should have come out. And so for me, I'm like, keep the same map, don't rebuild it.
Well, they're working on. I want to say it was some 70 or 80% of CD Projekt Red is
Working
working
on Witcher 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna see that first.
Yeah.
And then Cyberpunk.
Rumors for that one too is that that's supposed to be the Witcher series that we got in games takes place after the entire book series, and so they like talked and got licenses and talked with like the author, and they like built out like the Wild Hunt and all that. That's all their stuff. Like that's none of the books. And so rumors is with Witcher 4, they're gonna start going through the books, which is cool.
I like that.
I like that, you know. But yeah, I think that's enough said with this one. Cyberpunk 2077, congrats for your win. But
we don't want to beat a cyber horse.
yeah,
Best action adventure. And I was happy to see this, actually. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You know? Wow.
it's a great game.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm glad that they won something. You know, because the game is, amongst a lot of games this year, is fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got personal problems with it. I don't really like Skylands, but that's not against Zelda particularly. I just think that I don't think they're that interesting, and I'm not really big fan of building mechanics in games. You know, I've talked about this extensively. Our Two Souls listeners have probably those that are astute have probably noticed and picked up that I have that kind of, I guess.
He hates to build. He doesn't like resource.
I don't hate building. I don't like to have to.
He hates wood. He hates any adhesive. Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
But Tears of the Kingdom, I'm glad that it won.
Yeah,
And
congrats.
it is the best. I think it's the best action adventure game that came out this year, so that's good.
Out of the list there, like I it's by far I think the most impressive.
And now you're gonna hear one more game, basically. So for best RPG, Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3.
I mean, dude, it's an RPG. It's Baldur's Gate 3. It's amazing.
So this is my one thing I'll say.
Yes.
Final Fantasy 16's in here.
Okay.
I understand that. I kind of would have liked to see Final Fantasy 16 an action adventure game because I'm like, it's not like,
Yeah.
it's an RPG, but it's also like not really an RPG. It's in an RPG franchise. I think
You're
is the best way
playing
to
the
put it.
role of.
Dude, but this is where stuff gets so hairy because I remember people saying that like Tomb Raider was an RPG,
Tomb Raider's not an
and I'm
RPG.
like, that's not an RPG.
You're playing a role.
You're the role of Lara Croft. I'm like, that's not.
But that is the thing. It's like
That is
that
the
definition.
thing. Yeah, but that definition, every game is a
an
role playing
RPG.
game.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about this, all three of us. I remember, like years ago, and we talked about what makes an RPG is more like freedom of choice, is what we feel. Like there's a level of like choice that you can make in RPGs.
There's a level of choice, and there is an aspect of the character and the story being the driving force.
Yeah.
In the game, and there's usually, I mean, to put it bluntly, there's always like some statistical element to these RPG games.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you like get my numbers bigger here? How do I like min-max? You know, how do I, get ready for this battle by grinding this out and then equipping this thing and using that spell. So, but by all accounts, so Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, they do easily. Like
For those of you who haven't played it, that's a game that people will be playing for decades.
Dude,
and I know that sounds hyperbolic, but I'm being completely serious.
We've seen the trend of these kinds of games over the last like decades when you look at the history of it, and like this one's like smack right in that position. Like you hear people like the Diablo 3.
You'll hear people
like
say where they're like, roll a new character and then it's like a new game.
Yeah.
I want to say Bethesda Game Studios said that to some of their commenters recently, and that were their naysayers on Starfield, but this game really is that. Like you roll a new character and it is like a completely different game. Completely different like conversations, interactions, the gameplay, like the fighting, like it all changes. So
yeah.
So congrats, Larian.
Well, just say my point because I realized I didn't end it. Final Fantasy 16, the reason why I'd like to see it in there, those reasons, but also just to give it a chance at like another work. Because dude, like, I feel like any game in the same category as Baldur's Gate is like not gonna win, dude. With like what Baldur's Gate is, I'm like, I would have liked to see them have another chance, at like another word. Well, let's just say
no. Best multiplayer. Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
they won best multiplayer as well. Well, then it's stemmed in. With everything else we've said about Baldur's Gate 3, it's a blast with people. It's literally like I there's certain things that we've had happen in our game where I've literally been like holding my stomach, like crying, laughing. It's just so funny. Like it's it's so good.
It's just hilarious because there's like romance options and they're like very explicit. And like for a game, they're very explicit.
They're rather explicit. Yeah.
Okay. And when you're in a group of people, like everyone watches the romance options, and it's just like hilarious.
It's like, dude, come over here, come click on my character. I'm about to,
Yeah, you just walk up to their character and you click on it. And you're like in the room with them.
You're like, all right, bro. I'm like sipping on my soda.
It's hilarious, dude. It's a great game.
You're like, that's my seal of approval right there.
Yep.
Like, no other game's doing that.
No, not at all. It wouldn't dare.
Next, we had the player's voice award. This is the people and their voice, the players, voting on what.
Was it player's voice or choice?
No, it's voice. Player's voice.
Okay.
Although, from what I understand, it was like they messaged it in kind of thing, you know. Baldur's Gate 3. The people have spoken.
Really?
Yep, it was Baldur's Gate 3. The people have spoken and they agree. Enough said. Best game direction. This went to Alan Wake 2. Yeah.
I was happy to see that. And honestly, it makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense. That game, like, when you get into it and you start just thinking about how, like, any one mechanic was built out, like, I like, we talked about it on the Alan Wake part. I'm like, I don't get how they got all of these things to work so well. Yeah. You know, because they're telling a very, like, for all intents and purposes, like, they're telling a very complicated story. You know? And, like, I was happy to see them win another thing.
Yeah, it was good, too, because this was, like, the penultimate, award that was being handed out, and it's a pretty big deal when you've got, best game direction, and it was good to see it go to Alan Wake 2, so very happy with that game. Yeah. They announced that there was some more DLC coming out.
There's 2 DLCs.
So we have to look forward to. Also, and it does bear mentioning, we're not talking about that game right now, but Final Fantasy 16 also has 2 story DLCs coming.
Yes.
And so that's also really exciting. I want to say one of them's out already.
Yes.
And the second one's coming next year.
Yep.
So I would say arguably the 2 games that had the most cinematic stories and all of that, there's more of that coming.
Dude, I bet you that performance they did for the Old Gods of Asgard was like so confusing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I was like I was having so
Did you
much
see
fun
that?
watching that. I was having so much fun watching that, but yeah, you
I
made
just,
that
had
comment.
I just had a smile on my face, but it like clicked with me as I was watching it. I'm like,
I'm like, what?
if you haven't played this game, that doesn't make any sense.
They're like, the song's cool. I mean, how could you not like the song? It's a cool song.
Oh, that game's so good.
What they're
dude.
talking about, don't really know.
Yeah, I love that game.
And finally, to wrap up this section and also to come to the end of our cast for today, we have Game of the Year. Now, this was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? Because they had Timothy Shamwow come out, perform the actual reading of the winner, and it
Wasn't it YouTuber Xbox hacker?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Xbox controller modder or something.
because people for our listeners, why don't you tell them what he did before?
Oh, Timothy Chalamet. He had like a YouTube account like when he was a kid, and it was just like modded like Xbox controllers.
Yeah.
It was like Xbox controller modder like 69 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how they announce stuff.
Yeah, they like announced him by his old like YouTube like username.
Complete aside, but do you guys remember creepy crawlers?
Creepy crawler.
Like the pool?
No, the creepy crawlies are like it was like the little like rubber bug like toys that you could like make and bake in the oven.
No.
Oh, that vaguely rings a bell.
Creepy crawlies. Anyway, getting back on track.
What about it, dude?
So Game of the Year. No, it just popped in my head. I don't know.
Nice.
So Game of the Year.
Yes.
Okay. This went to. What's perfect? Baldur's Gate 3. Big surprise, right? Honestly, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
It makes
dude.
perfect sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Those were your announcements and awards for
Yep.
Game Awards.
If you
2023.
have something to play Baldur's Gate on,
Play it.
just buy it.
Just play it.
Just play it.
Just play it.
Don't ask yourself like, I don't know if I'm into this kind of game, or I'm scared.
No, just play it.
They concern me. I'm worried about this. Like our producer over here is over here face bombing himself. Just play it. Just play it because it's honestly a blast, and you won't regret it. Even if you were to play for like 10 minutes, you'd be astounded with what you're seeing because you're like, this is amazing.
The game's pretty nuts, yeah. I think to cap it off, I'd like to ask, what are your thoughts overall with these Game Awards?
Yes. So this is a good question. I appreciate it. I think the Game Awards have come a long way. I also think they have a long way to go.
Mhm.
And I think that there should be more time spent with the actual awards themselves and honoring the people that made these games and the art and the work that goes into it, as opposed to just announcing games. Okay. That being said, I'd like to know a little bit more about their process. I don't know if that's public information. I haven't looked it up, to be frank with you. But some of these felt, and in particular when it comes to like a Final Fantasy 16 and stuff, some of these felt like they're a little weighted. There's some bias.
It was like that, and even Starfield. Like Starfield, I'm like, how is like Bethesda's just releasing it? Like, how is that not in like getting at least nominated for more awards?
Papa Todd was there, and
It was there for just RPG.
He had nothing to go up to.
Yeah, it was. For me, I'm like, yeah, honestly, like I have like similar thoughts. I think part of it too is this year is very unique because there were so many games that were like honestly like just masterpieces in like what they were setting out to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I think at a certain point it's like, man, like with this many games releasing, like, you look on a journalistic side and it's like, how do we cover all these games? And it's like, okay, well on awards, like even more closed off. It's like, what are we going to put for nominees? Who's going to get it? Who's going to do it? This year was crazy for that, and then you've got like Baldur's Gate as well in the year, like there's a lot of games that for different reasons, I think kind of meet up with Baldur's Gate, but it's like, overall, it's like, dude, Baldur's Gate, like, you can't look at that and see what they made and not be like, fuck, dude, like, that should win, like, everything.
Yeah, like, how are you supposed to go up against it?
Yeah, but there's a lot of games that did go up against it. It's like, it's a very unique year, so I think that definitely plays into it to some extent. But overall, I do agree. I think 1 minute for these devs after, like, nowadays, like, dev cycles are, like, 5 years to, like, a decade.
Yeah.
Like spending that much time on a game and then you get 1 minute the year it releases is like kind of a slap in the face.
Like I like to hear, instead of just so many reveals, like get a little short 2-3 minute video about a studio that was up for nominations. Yeah. Like spotlight a studio or spotlight an artist or
spotlight one from the year before,
like something.
Yeah, like
it's Game Awards is, and Jeff Keighley and his whole team. This is not to detract from us. It's just constructive criticism because we love the Game Awards, but it's to enrich the community and it's to add value to all the people that are putting this work in. Yeah. So it's kind of like that. I'm gonna scroll up real quick, but because the name escapes me. Kimuri, that Unseen Studios one that we're talking about, that they did do a little quick, like video about the studio.
Yeah.
She explained when she went out the director, like what they're doing, how long she's been working on this, and they have just like a ton of artists, and that was something that I thought was really intriguing. I thought that was very interesting, and I think that helps a lot with people understanding like there's a lot of work that goes behind the games that you love. Yeah. I mean, there's no other art form that I can think of that encapsulates like all the other art forms.
Yeah.
So spending more time on that I think would be cool, so it feels a little less like, granted I understand it, it's a lot of marketing, great place to market your new game and all that, like I'm fully on board with that, but there's some other solution in there somewhere, and spending more time on the games that were made as opposed to just pushing the new ones, I think could serve the community and the people that are making them and playing them a lot more.
For me, I'm like, even if they did like a smaller scale in terms of like not like being in like YouTube theater or whatever, wherever they were at, like just do an extra day and do a smaller scale stream with like just announcements and just.
Well, that's what they kind of do with
like Summer Games
Fest.
Yeah, like something like that.
Just like a multi-day kind of.
Because I think the part of it for announcements is like they want like this like beginning of year like full of announcements and then this like half of the year of announcements. Because especially with E3 like gone, like we kind of need that.
Well, I'm gonna make a prediction here because the news came out today that E3 is officially now it's done now. Yeah, they're done, and so I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna say that Jeff Keighley's already working on figuring out how to make that again.
Yeah.
And so I think that whatever's happening in Game Awards is going to start getting spread around, and then we'll hopefully get some more time like hearing about the people that make the games. I want to hear about like the studios. I want to hear about like it's like watching like a no clip. Take like a small section of a no clip documentary and like inject that into some of them. Some of the Game Awards and stuff, and for goodness sakes, give them more than 1 minute to.
It's way too.
Like, that's
little,
way too little. Like give them like 3 or 4. Like I know that adds up, but
also tell everyone who goes up there where to go after they get to.
Go to the left.
Everyone kept like walking down the stairs and they're like, no, over here. I think the last thing I'll say is, I heard a lot of people criticizing it for I felt like it was trying to pander to Hollywood. That's pretty quick. It's not. I think Hollywood is trying to get into the games, a lot of actors and stuff like that, because the figures are starting to really show. We talked about this like on the last podcast.
Yes.
I believe it was the last one. But like the games industry by far is way bigger than music and movies. And so I think a lot of actors are trying to like shift over because it's becoming this whole performance capture thing. And especially with movies like Avatar, Way of Water, like they filmed that the same way games have been filming like their performances for the last like decade and a half, dude.
Yep.
And so now you're seeing that come over to movies and they're finding new things to do, and the movie's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's also like built off of these like approaches and methodologies of like performance capture, not like acting a scene out. You're capturing the movements and everything, right? That like games have been doing for a while, and so I think a lot of actors are seeing that come to movies and they're like, oh shit, like I can do that in games too and probably make even more money.
Yeah, and even just money aside, I think that there's a lot of people from Hollywood that are just gamers, yes, but that are also like, even if you're not a gamer, you're looking at what games are doing, and that's exciting as a storyteller, because that's what all of this is. It's compelling. Like, wait, so I can get someone to do this, and I can get them to control this part of things and get them to feel or think this. Like that's a compelling proposition.
Yeah, and in terms of Game Awards and like the number of actors that were there, all of them are tied with like game products. Like they're all working on stuff. Anthony Mackie's on the Twisted Metal show. That's like based off of a game IP. Matthew McConaughey's apparently, allegedly in a game. He's in Exodus.
He is in Exodus.
We just haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Okay, Simu Liu from Shang-Chi and stuff. He's in Stormfront.
Yes.
And then Timothy Chalamet, like, I mean, we saw a photo with Jordan Peele on Kojima's Instagram, he's working on OD, and the same thing with Timothy. Like, he literally was at like Kojima Productions, like their studios, like I think a month or two ago.
Yep.
Did a whole photo shoot over there. So I'm like, dude, he's probably gonna be in one of these games.
He was wearing the jacket with all the belts.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, he's probably gonna be in one of these games.
So the jacket doesn't fall off,
But anyway, I just wanted to like quickly go over that because that's something I've seen a lot of people mention where they're like, it feels like Hollywood's just trying to like eat up the whole industry, and I'm like, that's not what's happening. Like, there's just a lot of similarities, with the two industries. But
true.
With that being said,
let's do our quick wind down, and then let's just wisp off into the night.
yes,
What you been up to?
reading.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with Red Rising. I feel like it's like super obvious that I'm just jumping from book to book right now, dude. With all of these, I'm like reading Hero of Ages one day. But yeah, I'm reading Red Rising, and I'm almost done with it. I'm gonna go back to Hero of Ages, and then a bunch of random stuff I'm also doing. But that's about it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I finished Red Rising.
You're like, I also
finished Hero of Ages. Great books.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, and then I actually went right into Alloy of Law. That's
So Era 2.
Era 2 Mistborn.
Oh yeah, brother.
2. A lot of fun. Then I've been reading Murderbot Diaries. All systems read. Our producer finished that already. He said it's pretty great. I'm on chapter 4. Pretty short book. If you want to read a cool sci-fi book, and you don't want to have to commit too much in, because as well know, sci-fi and fantasy can be some of the biggest honkers when it comes to books.
That one kills 2 or 3 birds with one stone.
Yeah.
It's like 120 pages. The font's pretty big, and it's pretty spaced apart.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
yeah. So that's what I've been up to.
You can read it in an afternoon,
Well, this has been a great cast.
Yes.
I feel like it was very productive.
Yes.
And as we gear up for this holiday season and this new year, we will be bringing, let's see if I remember correctly, one more cast. Now, for those of you who are listening, just understand that we will be taking a Christmas break and the New Year's break. And so just be looking out for that.
And we're gonna come back stronger than ever.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true. We've been cooking up some good stuff, and we're pretty excited.
We're going into our cocoon,
Yes.
so we can emerge a beautiful butterfly.
Butterfree.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll be flapping about.
Yeah.
you
We're
know,
gonna go
with no
into
regard.
our cove to hibernate through the winter,
Exactly.
and then we're gonna come out fierce
Yeah.
and ferocious,
Just,
hungry. It's gonna be great.
it's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be great. You can find us at Two Souls. Here. I think here. Are we doing this?
We're doing this.
We're doing this.
Maybe we're doing this. We're doing this?
Evan,
We're doing this. It's right here. And it's at Two Souls on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So yeah.
Have a great day, and God bless.